Hey guys, what's up? I feel like I'm filming a confession video because this was just not the video that I had anticipated on filming today. But I mean, it is what it is, and you know, you guys will learn something from me today. Now, if you recall, about 2 weeks ago, I have filmed a video as to how I care for my Monstera elbows. And in that video, I walked you guys through what it is that I do when I find pests, how I was planning on reviving a wet stick, and what type of soil mixture I was using during that time to, repot all of my plants. Now, what I should have also reminded myself was to not be so neglectful of my plants. So what had actually happened was I forgot to water my plants for about a week. And when I checked on my plants, aka when I finally remembered to water my plants, I was like, oh no, my plant is dropping leaves. That doesn't make sense. And then I realized, oh yeah, you forgot to water your plants. So of course I watered my plants. But here's the thing, and I feel like not a lot of people talk about it. When I remembered to water my plants, my substrate was actually bone dry. And sometimes if your substrates are like bone dry, it'll just repel the water. Now, a really good example of something that repels water is moss. Now, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but like check out your moss poles. Have you ever noticed that when you're using a moss pole, if you forget to keep it hydrated, and then when you try to hydrate it, it just kind of like repels the water? Well, I think in my case, the tree fern fiber may have been bone dry, and when I had added the water to it, it just didn't wick up any water, it just repelled the water. And that's the reason why my plant ended up undergoing root rot. So yeah. So here's the victim. Here is the cutting that I was so excited about because the marbling is just so pretty. But yeah, it underwent some root rot. But you guys, I found a solution. I'm a problem solver. At least I try to be anyways. Hydroguard. If you recall, last week I had filmed a video on Hydroguard, wondering if it's like a holy grail thing and if everybody should get it. And yes, everybody should. Everybody should have this in their room. Like, go out and buy it now, because Hydroguard was what saved this cutting. And just let me show you guys. So originally, this cutting had a very long aerial root that came from here, and it had secondary roots. And during that time, I was debating like, oh, should I even leave it or should I cut it? And I chose to leave it because I figured that this aerial root it's not even focusing, because this aerial root I figured was going to take a very long time to grow. But when this totally rotted off, I cleaned everything and I put some Hydroguard in the water, and it's been a week and look at it. The aerial root here has grown significantly, and there's actually a little nub going on right over here. So I didn't even know there was like an aerial root that can grow from there, but there is. And I've had this plant in Hydroguard for a week, and it's choosing life. It's surviving. So I've only had one drop leaf, and that was it. Now it's choosing life. But the thing that is actually like that shocked me the most was this cutting. Now, if you recall, this cutting had some pests, and it's still figuring itself out. but yeah, so this cutting had some pests, and when I had clipped it, I was like, oh, like there's a lot of what is it? I'm sorry, I'm distracted right now because I can't get over how much growth there is. So I chose to put this guy in water because the aerial roots were on the side of the variegation side, and I was scared that it was going to rot. But you guys, look at this. These are some significant juicy roots. Like, what is happening? That's unreal. And it didn't even turn brown. So Hydroguard, everybody needs this in their kit. Everyone should go get a bottle. This has been sitting in a Hydroguard for 2 weeks. because that's when I had filmed that video. So this has been sitting in water with some Hydroguard for 2 weeks, and this is how much growth it's given me. And I'm just like totally blown away by Hydroguard. Like truly, I really am. So now what I'm gonna do is actually transfer this into a bigger container, because the roots are growing at a very fast rate, and I feel like if I leave it in there, it's gonna be hard for me to take out. So I'm gonna go ahead and transfer this to a larger cup, and I'm just gonna start rooting it in leca. And I guess I'll show you guys how I plan on doing that in just a moment, because I feel like some people might do this wrong. So I'm going to go ahead and just find myself a cup and show you guys how I'm going to use leca to continue to root this guy. Alright, so I already potted this guy up in leca, and you're probably wondering how much water did I actually put in here, and quite frankly, to the top. It's like right up to here. That's where the water line is. And I chose to pretty much fill this cup up with water because this cutting was already hanging out in water. It was rooting in water. It was loving life in water. So I'm going to continue to give it water. I'm not going to change anything other than the fact that I've added substrates to this. Now, typically, if this was like a regular Monstera that's all green, I would just let it be and it'll just root and be fine, and I would just top up the water as needed. But because this particular cutting was very variegated, if you recall, the aerial roots were actually on the side of the variegation side, which concerned me because I was scared that if there's any bacteria or anything in here, that the stem would actually rot. So I'm not concerned about the roots rotting, I'm concerned about the stem rotting. So with that said, I am going to keep a closer eye on this and kind of check it on a weekly basis just to ensure that the stem is okay. And once this starts to put off more roots and, you know, maybe even give me a new leaf, maybe that's when I'll stop checking on it on a weekly basis. But yeah, for now, I'm just gonna play it safe and check on it because, like I said, I'm more concerned about the stem rotting more so than the roots. And this guy, I'm just gonna let it continue to root some more before I put it in leca and let it be. But yeah, I hope this video was helpful. I guess like the moral of the story is don't neglect your plants too much, and just be mindful that sometimes your substrates may actually repel water and cause the root rot. Because I'm sure like people were probably wondering, well, if you forgot to water it and you watered it, like, did you overdo it? My answer is no. I don't believe that I added too much water in it. I think that it just didn't wick up as much as it should have, or at all, really. It didn't wick up anything, which is why my my cuttings ended up just kind of rotting away. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye now.